This is the Detroit River, a lifeline for the Motor City. The Detroit River, one of the world's busiest recreational waterways. And it was here that unlimited racing became a major league sport. Detroit's love affair with speed on the water started in 1916 with this man, Garfield Wood. For 17 years, Gar Wood ruled the waves. He took on the best from North America and Europe, always finding a way to win. He was an inventor, known as the father of the Navy PT boat. And while the rest of the world was falling in love with the cars built in Detroit, Detroiters were falling in love with the boats that raced on its water. In 1956, a new legend was born on the Detroit River. Bill Munsey rewrote the record book with 62 wins before his death in '81. But the toughest course in unlimited racing continues to spawn heroes. Chip Hanauer replaced Munsey in the blue and white Blue Blaster and won the first of 3 straight Gold Cups here in '82. He tamed the treacherous currents again, taking the checkered in '83. Last year, Jim Cropfeld used a win in Detroit as a springboard to his first national championship, the 7th for the Bernie Little Budweiser team. And once again, it's time for the 69th running of the world's largest outdoor sporting event. From Bill Munsey Park in the shadows of downtown Detroit, hello everyone. We're getting set to bring you the 69th running of the world's largest outdoor sporting event. I'm Ed Dubrow, and with me today is a man who knows Detroit well, and they know him. He's Lee Shaneth, a 3-time national champion in this sport and a former commissioner. Lee, what about the Detroit River conditions today?
I think the conditions today are almost excellent. We have a breeze going downstream, which does not give you rough water. We should have some great racing today.
Now, last year they changed this to a 2.5-mile course after it being a 3-mile course all these years. Has it affected the racing from what you've seen?
No, we moved the course down from the Belial Bridge to get out of some of the rough water by the turn down there. The course is 2.5 miles instead of 3, but look at the qualifying speeds. They're going just as fast as they ever did.
Just under 140 miles an hour, and we'll show you that in just a moment. Also with us today is a man who also knows this river. He won the Gold Cup here in 1976 in a boat he built himself, and that's Tom Deeth. Well, Tom, you have driven both the reciprocal engines and also the turbines. Is there really that much difference?
Oh, there definitely is. The turbine engine doesn't respond as well as the reciprocating type of motor, such as the Rolls Merlin or the Turbo Allison. When you get on the gas with the recip motor, it hits you right in the back and it takes off, where the turbine just kind of spools up and builds up, and you have to keep it really cranked up to keep it going. If the boat were to get a little light when you're driving the turbine and you decelerate the turbine engine, it doesn't react as fast as the recip motor either, and it doesn't settle down as fast. So you can get in trouble if you don't drive the turbine way in advance.
I must wonder about this. The Detroit River has not been kind to turbines in the past. What about today?
Well, we'll find out at the end of the day, but the rough water that the Detroit River always has had because of the ground swells, the vibration and the punishing that the boats take has been real hard on the fragile turbine engines. But we'll find out by the end of the day. Their top qualifiers, 1 and 2. Maybe by the end of the day, they'll be 1 and 2.
Well, I know you, still being a driver, are anxious to be on that water. We thank you for being with us today. We'll show you all those qualifying runs. We'll also give you a chance to meet the drivers, take a closer look at the boats as we get set for our coverage of the 69th running of the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. The Spirit of Detroit Regatta is brought to you by Buick and your Buick dealers. For comfort, innovation, and a real commitment to quality, wouldn't you really rather have a Buick? And by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. And by the new Walker Advantage muffler, it puts rust at a disadvantage. Hello again, everyone. Ed Dubrow along with Lee Shaneth and Tom Deeth, standing by to bring you the Indy 500 of water racing, the Spirit of Detroit Regatta. Only 8 boats showed for qualifying because it's been a rough year thus far on the Unlimiteds. Engine problems and accidents like this one at Leif Borgensen in Syracuse have taken their toll on the world's fastest racing fleet. The boat sank, but glad to report that Borgensen, who you'll see popping up out of the water, suffered only a dislocated hip and other minor injuries and is well on his way to recovery. For a boat to qualify here, the driver must average at least 105 miles an hour around the 2.5-mile course. That's easier said than done. Then to get into the championship race, he must accumulate enough points in qualifying heats. The boats must pass a rigid inspection, and the driver must pass a physical on race day. To compete on the unlimited circuit as a driver, besides being slightly crazy, You have to prove that you can handle those 4,000 horses and speeds up to 200 miles an hour. A candidate must prove himself in the smaller racing boats by winning or taking second or third in 50% of the heats. An FAA physical must be passed. The candidates must know the rules and prove it, and have at least 1 hour of unlimited hydroplane practice. They've got to do that in front of a qualifying committee made up of veterans such as my colleagues today, Tom Deeth and Lee Shaneth. 7 of the 8 hydros qualified. Will Muncie, who besides being an unlimited driver, is the publisher of Boat Racing magazine, had engine problems and failed to make the field. He's the son of the great Bill Muncie, a fierce competitor like his father, but will spend this weekend as a disappointed spectator. In earlier racing, 5 drivers have earned their way into the final winner-take-all championship race. 2 have turbines, 3 have piston-driven power plants. Steve Reynolds in a turbine that he qualified at just under 138 miles an hour. Scott Pierce, who had his first unlimited win at Miami this year. Defending race champion Jim Kropfeld, now he's driving the hull he raced last year, even though he has a new one, and we'll tell you more about that later. Also in a piston-driven unlimited, Jerry Hopp. Hopp drove as an independent last year when he finished every race he started. And Chip Hanauer, who set a qualifying record of just under 140 miles an hour. Therein lies most of the drama of the day as we count down to the final trophy race. That's the lineup for the big race. Now let's show you how they got there. 3 boats hooked up in this qualifying heat. Hanauer, Scott Pierce, and rookie Andy Coker on the Detroit River for the first time. A busted oil line in Hanauer's Jim Lucero designed turbine started an electrical fire. Hanauer pulled the hydro up in the rooster tail turn, stayed with it, and turned on the onboard fire extinguishing system. His crew would have to repair the damage within an hour, then Hanauer would have to win the next heat just to qualify for the final. At that point, Chip must have been thinking back to last year. He had the fastest hull then, but he didn't make the final. They did it, and we'll have more on that as we continue to bring you up to date. Meanwhile, on the course, Andy Coker, driving the only conventional hull here today, he calls it the Dinosaur, was no match for the 2-year-old Rolls-Royce powered hull that was also built and designed by Jim Lucero. Lucero is part owner of the Hanauer team and also built the Unlimited driven by Steve Reynolds. Scott Pierce drove a steady race, assuring himself a berth in the final. You've seen Chip Hanauer burning on the course. Now let's ride with him as he burns up the 2.5-mile course during that record-setting run of 139 miles an hour, which also eclipsed the 3-mile qualifying record.
We hit the start line at right around 175, 180, which is the top speed for our boat. We progress down the straightaway and begin to set it gently into the first corner. This is probably the most difficult part of the race course because it's how you enter, transition from straightaway to corner that'll get you through that corner smoothly and quickly. You hit the apex buoy, let the boat slide out a little bit, come across what we call the exit pin or the last turn buoy, and again accelerate back up to that top speed. Now we came out of that corner at about 135 miles an hour, and it'll take us about 5 seconds to accelerate back up to 180. We'll maintain that 180 probably for, maybe 8 to 9 seconds, and then it's going to be time to turn to the rooster tail corner. This is the smallest, most treacherous corner on the Unlimited circuit, where most corners are about 1,200 feet in diameter. This turn is only about 600 feet. You literally slow the boat almost to a stop, pitch it sideways, hang on, hit the throttle, and back out, back to the start-finish line.
Thanks, Chip. Now let's join my colleague Lee Shaneth in the pits.
For those of you unfamiliar with an unlimited hydroplane, let me give you a quick tour. These boats are approximately 30 feet long, 14 feet wide, and weigh around 7,000 pounds. The rule book says you must be 28 feet long, you must have a propeller and a submerged rudder. From there on, you're on your own. I'm sitting here by the cockpit, where the driver has many, many instruments to watch and a stopwatch to make sure he makes a good start. Going forward, we have the sponsons. That's what the boat really rides on, a bubble of air under the boat with the sponsons touching the water periodically about 12 square inches at a time. Further on back, we have a huge skid fin. This is what keeps the boat going straight and makes it go through the turns so fast and so beautifully. Further on back, we have the submerged rudder. These rudders are offset, they're not in the middle of the boat. That makes for better handling and better turning. Then the amazing thing which many people look at and wonder, how does a boat go so fast with a little propeller? These propellers are only about 14 inches in diameter, but you must remember they turn 12,000 RPM. Then we also have this huge tail section, which keeps the boat steady. The crew can adjust this tail section to make the boat a little more lively if the water's too choppy. It's a very new technique and very helpful in the running of these boats.
Thanks, Lee. In the pits, a flurry of last-minute adjustments as we continue to count down to the 69th running of the Spirit of Detroit Regatta.